Welcome to the next episode of The Teacher Zone with Chris and Tyler. Today, I'm here with obviously co-host Chris Bates, but we have a special guest today, and his name is Brad Alexander. He's dear to our hearts, and he owns Clarity Creative. And just creative, clarityalwayswins.com is his website. Chris, tell us who's here with us.
So we have the Jedi, Brad. Welcome. So excited.
Welcome,
What's
Brad.
up, guys? I'll put my hood on. It'll work fine right now.
So for those of you that have been listening to the last couple episodes, Tyler and I have been sort of spitballing about this whole idea of the characters we play in our story, in our life story, and with our business. And we decided to bring on our guide because we've been playing with these characters, right? We got Tyler, we've been talking about victim, we've been talking about villain, we've been talking about hero and guide, right? And so we've been trying to be a guide to you guys, but in truth, our guide is Brad, and Brad helps us get more clear on our story and our messaging and how we speak to our customers. And so we decided, why reinvent the wheel? Let's have our own Yoda on and have Brad help us better understand how we can have clarity. And so Brad's company, if you check out his website, you'll see that basically he uses story-based marketing to really help you tell that story to your heroes and to help your heroes thrive. So Brad, I'm not going to butcher all the amazing stuff you do. I'm going to let you take it from here. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on, brother.
Teach us.
Man,
Teach us.
I'll do my best. Yeah, you guys are gonna be a tough crowd, but we'll do our best. Yeah, I know. Thanks for real. This is great to come on, and I know we talk so much offline in other ways, but at least just to kind of do this, and really for the folks that listen to what you guys bring every week, and you know, you guys offer so much just help and advice and value in anybody trying to learn anything about the lessons business, and so that I get to come in and help with that too is awesome, and I'm fired up to be here. And so, yeah, I mean, I know that you guys for the last couple of weeks have been talking through, based out of Donald Miller's book and some of the collateral and information that's come from there, these 4 roles that people play. And if I'm right, like the last couple of weeks, it's been very much about the victim and the villain, and then this idea about heroes and guides and figuring out which one you are in there. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you know, it's
when that role. When can we play that role? When do we have permission to? Do we even know that we can have permission to be one or the other? Like a lot of this is new to people, like it was to us a few years ago, Chris.
Yeah.
We never looked at a customer as Luke Skywalker. We looked at us as like, here, let us build this thing so you could be amazing with our thing. And so we really had a paradigm shift in the last 5 years. And then we met you, and now it's just even better.
Well, yeah, isn't that the way we've all been taught to do business, right? It's like, we're your hero, you know? It doesn't matter if you're selling tacos, right? It's like, you know, we're your hero. We're the best taco you've ever had, you know? Right. And yeah. You really helped us understand that is not the best way to appeal to someone.
Right. Well,
you are.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and it's so it's tricky. And so I know, you know, the kind of the thing that I know that we talking about today, and then I'll try to help unpack a little bit, I guess, is this idea of when you are a business owner, or you're running your own thing, or you're selling your own products, and you know it's valuable, and you believe in it. You know how much good you can do for somebody. You know how much better of a product or service that you have. It's really hard to watch other people in the same space win or do better than you, when you know you have this gut feeling like, man, we do so much better than they do. And so out of that gut response, you want to come out and you want to say, we're so much better than they are, right? That's like the default, because you just want everybody to know it, right? You
want to be a villain.
Right. Well, and it's natural, because you either feel like I'm a victim, man, I can't, nobody's going to listen to me. I'm always behind. I'm always the forgotten one. Or, yeah, the temptation is to vilify the competition.
Right.
And then by default, you end up becoming a villain of the marketplace, which you'll attract some people, but it's not going to be the kind of people you want to have, you know, as long-term customers. For sure.
Just a super important point, man. That is huge. Something that I always, that I shouldn't say always, something that I now believe is that when you come from abundance and you do your best, and it takes a lot of work, but you do your best to get rid of fear, abundance creates so much more success. That mentality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just, I guess what I'm trying to lay out there is it's completely normal for us everybody does this. It's not like you're some weird person who's doing that. It's like everybody starts there or gets into that. And then you're trying to ramp up, what you're doing. Tyler, you got something?
I think part of that the byproduct of that natural reaction to compete. Well, as an entrepreneur, if you're building something out of nothing and it didn't exist before, and all of a sudden you have this fire, like, why does everywhere else do it this way? That makes no sense. Right. Okay, well, now you've created and invented a solution, right, Chris? And this thing is here to help others. So to go into villain mode right after that, you have a fork in the road. You can set your destiny at that point, how you respond with the messaging, whether you're kind of that evil competitor or you're like, hey, we've got nothing to lose. We're just here to help. And people, that authenticity draws who your people will be from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's this whole, the space I live most of the time in is very specifically with marketing, right? How does this apply to somebody's website? How does this apply to your brochures? How does this apply to the packaging and the products that you're trying to put out there for people? And it definitely is a part of it. Like your marketing will be more effective. And when we're going to get into that, if you can make this mental switch to, instead of talking about yourself and how good you are and how great you are and how many awards you've won or how many clients you have or, all of your stuff, just me, I, we're awesome, to making the switch and pivot to say, hey, client, customer, student, whatever, like, we are just here to help you win. And that's our purpose, is you as the customer, you as the client, you as the student, whatever it is. When you can make that switch and make what you are talking about on anything people see to be that's truly saying, we want to help you be awesome, we want to help you win, then that's going to differentiate and attract people to you, because you don't look like you're insecure, you don't look like you're just trying to brag. It's like, man, these people actually feel like they can help me solve a problem here.
Right.
Totally.
Brad, I got a question. When you've helped people and their messaging, because just like us, you helped us, how often is their general mission tagline of their, hey, come use us? How often is it me versus you on the very first time you meet a customer of yours?
Yeah. I mean, usually when people come to me, there's something broken, right? Like our marketing's not effective and we're trying to figure that out, right? And so then I'll look at their stuff and I'll joke when I say, it's like, yes, it's very obvious why that's the problem. Because you're positioning yourself. And again, this guide hero concept is that you're making yourself the hero of the story. You're saying, like, I'm here, I'm awesome, I'm going to solve your problems, I'm the savior, as opposed to making them the hero. And so people just quickly, they respect it, but they bounce off of it pretty quickly. Yeah, what you got, Chris?
You made me remind, I don't know if you, where I heard this, but someone said you transitioned from, hey, look at me, to, hey, there you are.
Yeah.
Like you're acknowledging versus, hey, pay attention to me. It's, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
And we've all, absolutely. Yeah. And you think about it, like anything, any brand, anything, I mean, literally anything that you love, that you buy from, that you currently right now, that that you're drinking out of, that you're consuming, that you just, if it's something like, man, I love this brand of whatever it is, there's something about that brand that makes you feel like they're making you a better person, or they're part of something that you value, that they are helping you do something that you really want to do with your life, whatever that is. And so even though they may not be saying, you explicitly, there is that element of, hey, I see you. We want to invite you to be part of this. And that's really the biggest shift when it comes to, yes, your marketing, but just even how you operate your business. If you can view yourself as somebody's living out their journey, they're on their path towards some things in life. And at some point, you as a company or as a business get to be part of that person's story, and you get to guide them to this next step and help them do something, accomplish something, and believe in something that they are not sure they are capable of, but they are. And that is the shift.
Love that. I've never heard that, Brad. I don't know why, but I've never heard you get to be a part of their story. I love that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's it. And that you're inviting we talk about in the marketing world, you're inviting them into a story, but really what you're doing is you're positioning yourself into their story for something that they're already trying to go for, right? And so, so there's these two characters, the hero and the guide. And so if you're thinking about typical story structure, Karate Kid is one of my all-time favorite franchises. Tyler and I have riffed on about Cobra Kai. Like, I could sit here and nerd out about it. I'm unashamedly a big fan. And yeah, and
just
so
started season 4.
Yeah, it's right. Well, yeah, I'm on round 2 already. So you're looking at this quintessential moment in Karate Kid where this kid Daniel's getting beat up, right? He's he's trying to figure out his life, and all of a sudden he meets this guy, Mr. Miyagi, and Daniel wants to learn karate because he wants to learn self-defense. He wants to stick up for himself. He wants to fight the bullies. Well, Mr. Miyagi, kind of reluctantly agrees to teach him, but he's not teaching him just how to beat up the bullies. He's teaching him so much more. He's taking Daniel on this journey of, hey, man, you got what it takes. You don't have to be like everybody else. You can. There's more inside of you than you think that you probably don't think you could pull it off. There's all these moments in the story of the hero where he is just fumbling and bumbling and getting mad and fighting obstacles and not sure he could pull it off. And, Mr. Miyagi, every step is like, no, do this, keep at it. And he just stays consistent. And so these two people in this story, the reason we love these stories is because we can see ourselves in the hero. Like, yes, we know what that's like to want something, to feel like we're not going to get it and we can't pull it off. And that's why any story is relevant to anyone, because you can see yourself through their experiences of things you've experienced. And so effectively, when you position yourself as the hero in your marketing and the way you do the business, when it's all about you and your convenience and you making money and how great you are, you're actually confusing the people who are trying to buy from you, because they're looking for help to solve a problem, not somebody else's story to watch.
Right.
You get
Wait, say that again.
Yeah,
one more time.
You are confusing your customer because they're looking for someone to help them solve a problem, not another story to watch. And they may be like, man, that's great for you that you've won those many awards, and they're just going to check out and be like, well, but I'm looking for somebody to help me with this problem.
That's big, man. That's big. Because we all want people to watch our story, especially something that we're proud that we've built. But it's like, that's not how they're shopping. They're not looking for your story.
Yeah, save that for like your family dinners and like your internal company celebrations and when you retire, right? But don't tell me that when I'm kicking the tires and whether or not I should come take dance lessons from you. Right. And so anyway, so you kind of have these two characters. You have the hero and the guide. And the truth is that the hero is quite honestly the weakest character in the story. They're constantly self-doubting. They're constantly insecure. They're
Identity crisis.
All the time.
101, and sometimes they don't figure their identity out for like 5 times in a row. And I mean, Daniel's just like, man, I just like this girl. Leave me alone. And then he's like,
imagine
karate.
How boring a story is without those challenges.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then you think of whoever the guide is, right? If it's Mr. Miyagi, if it's Mick from Rocky, or if it's Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, if it's whoever it is, the person that's stepping in to like, hey, you got this. They'll have their own little character journeys, but really they're the strongest character in the story. they're not trying to prove that they're good to the person that needs to learn. They're just saying, hey, you need to do this, And so when we think of our business the same way, if I'm putting myself out there as a hero, then really what it actually comes out as is insecurity. And it accidentally communicates, we're not really sure about what we're offering, so we're going to talk it up so much to try to convince you, because we don't want you to find out that we don't know what we're doing. And that's not what you want to communicate, right, to anybody that's going to buy from you.
No.
So
good.
So and well, we're so attracted to decisiveness. We're so attracted to someone that feels strong to us. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Because like you said, in trying to be a hero, it's really scary. You feel really vulnerable. You feel, especially in the learning business, any kind of lessons you're taking or whatever. I mean, gosh, it doesn't matter what you're learning. Discomfort is, the seed to learning. So it sucks. It's scary.
Yeah. And so what's beautiful about the types of people who I'm sure are listening to this podcast and people who are teachers' own clients is that just by default, you are 100% in the business of transformation. Like you just are. You are helping people literally move from something they don't know how to do to doing it. And for a lot of businesses and companies, they have to really think about, how am I actually helping people grow? How am I actually solving a problem in somebody's life?
Right, where the core of a lesson business is already that.
That is literally what you're doing. Like there's no way around it. And so it's already baked in.
How can I help them through those challenges? Right? Because a lot of times.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say, a lot of times when you're teaching something, you immediately assume that someone will jump to the other side. And the reality that we all know is that there's a lot of pitfalls before the other side's reached.
Yeah.
Right. And I used to tell parents or other business owners or people wanting to start businesses or whatever, when Chris and I created Los Rios Rock School, I told people, I go, it's kind of easy. I would be the only one to mess it up, because we have kids, we have music, the most powerful language on earth. And then we get the kids to play with each other and they make friends. Like, you got to have systems to make it run, but like, how are you going to lose? And here's the deal. Oh no, well, what if I run out of customers? I don't know. They're being born right now. There's customers being born
right
as we speak. So there's never going to be a drought of customers because of the learning and the music aspect. So I always thought, like, anybody could do this. You have the implement. Now, go start a Subway sandwich franchise? I don't know. That seems harder to me. You know what I mean? Like, that just seems like cooking with gas for a lesson business.
Actually, it's funny to hear Tyler talk, because Tyler is talking like the hero that all of you out there listening know yourselves to be, in the sense that you've mastered something that's made you want to have a lesson business. So Tyler's confidence in our lesson business is because he and I know that side of skill and mastery, as do you all, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're martial arts, doesn't matter what your studio is, you have a certain level of mastery that you want to convey to someone. And that might even be harder, maybe, Brad, in our business, to not want to brag. If I know you don't want to call it bragging, but it kind of is, when you're like, hey guys, I've only been working 25 years at this. I think I could help you.
Right.
It's like, right? I mean, there's almost more excuse in our business to present yourself that way.
Right. And that's the flip that you have to make, I think, in this business, is like, we just assume, and not that I teach anything like this, right? But if I'm in that seat, if I'm running a martial arts academy, if I'm running the dance school, if I'm running like a, marksmanship place, or a language, class, or English learning platform, or Spanish learning platform, or music lessons, or rock band type, whatever it is, where there's skills that have to be developed. And I've been doing this for years, right? It's just an assumption, like, I obviously know what I'm doing, so just pay me money and I'll help you do it. Like, that's how we think. And as if my expertise is going to do enough to convince you to pay me money, where that is not, that is not going to attract customers, and that's not going to help you really get the results that you want. When you begin to think like a guide and you begin to apply that to your, as opposed to a hero, what a guide does is there's the two key points to that a guide is going to express is they're going to express empathy, and then they are going to express authority, but it's always going to start with empathy. In that the reason a guide is a guide is because they've been through the transformation that the hero is trying to accomplish. They know what it's like to have to practice my scales over and over and over again. They know what it's like to try to work that jump and just not get it 20 times in a row. They know what it's like to try to get the technique and the footwork together and to stumble over and fall down and stay up late hours to try to get it right before the recital in 2 weeks. And so they're on the back side of that, and they're still doing it when they perform themselves. They understand that, and they communicate that they get the drudge and the grind and the work that comes from it. But what they're offering is, hey, I know what it's like to be there, and you can trust me to help you get through it. And so then that's what they're communicating. It's not I'm awesome, look how many awards I've won. It's like, man, I totally understand what it's like to be a first time student and to sit down and hold those drumsticks and feel really awkward in the hands, and just to feel like I get into something way over my head.
It sounds to me, yeah, you're showing your warts, your vulnerability.
100%. And you're saying that as a business, right? That, hey, we get that you really want to see this. You want to have the picture on the wall, the medal around your neck, and you feel like that's impossible, and you feel like you're way over here, or that you want to get all the confidence, the self-discipline, whatever comes out of this, that's something you want, that you're after, but you're just not sure that it's possible. Maybe that's for other people. And even if you say it that way, where we get that, I understand that you are experiencing that, you're thinking this, it sounds like you're kind of manipulating people. You're not. You're just saying, hey, I know what you're thinking because I've been there. And all that does is, instead of making you seem weak, it makes you seem trustworthy, because we're thinking, man, this guy knows what I'm going through. And so I feel like I can actually trust him to help.
It makes you think that person has a map. Like they actually have a charted course that is tangible. Like they didn't before, someone might have given them a map. Maybe they created the map. I think that is a different discussion. Did the guide create the map from scratch, and he's the first guide ever on planet Earth for this thing?
Right.
Or did he get mentored and handed it down? But either way, the customer, the heroes out there waiting to be heroes, know that guy has access.
Yes.
So how would a modern, you made me think, Tyler, you guys both maybe just think about, I don't know why, but a train. And so if a train company in today's day and age were to tell their story, they might speak, how would they do that, right? Because they might speak of the trouble they had to go through to get that line to be safe, to get that line from A to B, right? Like letting you know that, yes, we know that's a terrible trek. And so how would that be, how would you frame that to the customer?
Right. Well, and that's the part of it is, everybody asks at some point, so when does my story become part of this, and kind of the journey that I had become a part of this? And what I tell people is that your story only makes sense as long as it's also your customer story. And so or it's your potential client story, and that it's totally appropriate to share parts of your story if it's going to show empathy and show authority to get through the problems. Mm-hmm. You don't just go off on this to make the case like, my grandpa started the company in 1975, and for the last 20 years we've been experts at making tractors and building railroads and whatever else. It's like, I don't care, man. Like, you got something, I need to bale hay tomorrow, and I can't afford a brand new tractor, right? I don't have time to start on your website by reading Grandpa Joe's story. Maybe that's good to get there eventually after I've done business with you for a while, and I'm curious to know more, and I'm trying to build a deeper relationship with you. But right off the bat, people aren't coming in being like, man, I wonder how this company started. Nobody cares. They just don't.
Yeah, that's like page 6. I'm not there yet.
Right. Right, and they care once they've been around, like, again, in a lessons business, right? Like if they've been your student for like 6 months and the family's been around and they've got a taste for the personalities in it, then at some point, whenever, and I don't know when that comes up, I don't know they're going to be on your website, but like if you guys are having some sort of like, just client night or student night, and then you kind of fold into the larger mythology of this place and that they get to be a part of, then all that does is, again, it makes them realize that they're part of a bigger story and they get to participate in it. But they don't care about that. It doesn't mean anything to them unless they've already been in the mix of it for a while.
Right.
And so
trust has to be built.
Yeah,
right. Don't
right.
put the cart ahead of the horse in regards to that relationship building and that trust building.
Right. And so just this idea of in your front facing marketing, even a quick check that you can do right now, whoever you are listening to this, go to your website, go to your homepage and ask, how many times does it refer to us and we? And how many times does it refer to you and you? Like the person reading it, like literally using the words you or the words we. Like those are just two pronouns that you can do a scan check and be like, we do this and we offer this and we have this and we've been doing this. Even just the way you say it, it's like us. Versus, and if you just switch it and be like, I don't read the words you like you're talking to me as the reader on here at all. That's a good indicator that you're probably acting more like the hero instead of the guide.
You guys hear that?
There's your test.
If you've got we and us on your website and you're not saying you to the reader, then you're doing it backwards.
Right. And there's going to be some places where you have to say like, we have classes, right? I understand that. But if
we have a staff.
Right. But the proportion of it, usually it's kind of a,
would it be 95%, we have classes designed for you?
Right. Yeah. We offer classes that help you be an incredible dancer, right? Like that's a different way than we have dance classes that are the best,
Or we have the best dance academy in west of the Mississippi. Like whatever that is, there's the we statement. That's the blanket.
Right.
And those are those excited business owners going, but we are.
Right.
And maybe it's true.
Brad,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know you're right, Tyler. And I'm wondering philosophically if this shift has come about more in the last 40 years as we shifted. We used to be a supply economy. And so basically whoever controlled supply controlled everything. So if I'm making it up, but if you're a karate studio and you controlled the gis, like you're the only one that could get them in town, you might be the only karate studio around. But supply and demand was a bigger factor. Then as things have changed, pretty much anybody can do anything nowadays. So it's more of a demand gen economy. It's more we have to do what the customers want. Do you think that philosophically has changed how we tell the story to them?
Yeah, I think it has. And I think it's also just born out of, if we're going to get business philosophical, in like the 40s and 50s and 60s, I'm even thinking about my parents, like, well, so-and-so said that on TV, so I just trust them. Like the trust was originally, they seem no, absolutely. Like they seem like they know what they're talking about. And so I guess they're right. Whereas now that's automatically like, what's the angle? What's the catch? I'm skeptical about this.
Not authentic.
Right? If somebody claims to know it all and tell you all some guru and they talk that way, then now for the younger, anybody that's not a boomer, kind of below that, there's a lot of like, this seems shady. And it incites skepticism, even if it's legit. Like we just don't trust it.
That's big. Like with the Russians in the 80s, trust but verify.
Right.
Well, you made me think about in public speaking. You talk about the hero's journey a lot. A lot of speakers, where for those of you, if you haven't done public speaking, you don't notice. Think about. Everybody from like Tony Robbins to anybody you've seen speak, they always do that hero's journey, rags to riches, right? It's like, oh, I was in the dumps. Everything was terrible. I couldn't see my way out of it. And then there's the turnaround, right? Is that sort of a similar way we're doing this and looking at it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's as long as it's valid and it's real, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to help people see that's possible for them. And the promises that you're trying to assure them of are realistic, not
Right.
stupid, outlandish stuff, right? It's like, and so, I mean, I think that's even a good exercise. Like if you're trying to think through transformation, what does transformation look like if somebody goes from a before and after in this business, right? So I'm going to ask you, let's think through some of these lessons businesses, right? So like as a kid coming in to learn music for the first time to 5 years later, they've been in your program. What are some things they're going to grow and change in that you are confident that's going to happen? What would you say?
That's a good way to look at it. Well, there could be, depending on your lesson business, if it's really linear, it could be Suzuki method piano. You finish level 10. Congratulations. Good job. That's it.
Yeah. Well, but there's a lot of skill, and then you'd probably be better at math, and there's probably
there's benefits, but the point is there's one result. There's one result that you would promise them. Somewhere between this and the end, you would have these results, where other schools are based more on project based or live performance or theater, or all of a sudden, and now you're putting yourself out there and confidence, you're not in front of just your teacher. And so then the outcome is more confidence, or the outcome is, yes, you shred guitar and maybe you will get a record deal. We won't promise that, but maybe that's a route you could take. So is that kind of what you're looking at? Like what is an expectation?
To interrupt,
No?
I think he's talking about more specific, right?
Well, it's like, a blend of both. It is like,
okay.
Yes, like you're going to master the Suzuki method, and you're also going, and what I'm saying is you just know by default that like a kid who goes through this or an adult who starts and 5 years later, there's things about them that just change, that they come in less sheepish, less insecure, maybe come out of their shell.
Right.
There's some ways that just by interacting with them that transfer outside of the lesson room into their life that you have seen play out. And so it's like you're gonna learn a skill,
right?
And here's also outside like peripheral benefit that we know you're gonna experience.
So those two things are not outlandish expectations of goals.
Right.
Those are like, these things happen all the time. We know how to make them happen, and so on.
Well, we're seeing a lot of the marketing. I think a lot of the people are really starting to wake up to this fact that as parents, what do we want for our kids? And so if you're in the lesson business, and kids are a big part of the lesson business, because it creates more consistent revenue, because you get a longer cycle with a kid typically.
Sure.
Adults are so busy, you only get like a year or two.
Right.
With a lot of kids, you can get 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And I think connection, right? We all want kids to be more social and have a greater connection. We all want kids to be more self-confident. Just learning a skill teaches you that you can overcome challenges to get better at something. So I don't know how you quantify that, but that's a thing, that you can overcome difficulty in life. Tenacity, I guess.
So then kind of extract that a little bit, and what's fun about this is, and now let's think about a martial arts studio or a dance academy or a language school. What things would be almost the same?
Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
those elements.
Almost all
it's the same thing, right? Because learning and pressing through a skill, there's just natural growth and maturity that comes out of that.
Chris, I like what you said earlier.
Maturity is a great one. Growth.
The parent's story. So now with a lesson business with adolescents involved, you technically have two stories coming to the table. Mom and dad's story of trying to do the best they can ever do for their beloved Johnny. And then Johnny's little story, like red guitar or whatever. And so they don't, so if you've got to translate, so you have two stories approaching. So mom and dad are trying to make him the hero, but might not know it. We're trying to make him the hero. And we want mom and dad to feel like a hero too for choosing correctly. Right. So that's one thing we've noticed over the years that we try to be sensitive to, is that, hey, we are also very aware of his story. What's his? on an initial phone call or something. And they'll just go, oh, well, he's this. And then they'll just go and they'll tap into his story and get out of theirs of marming the check boxes of if your school is safe and right and whatever. Right. And it takes them a completely different direction to their kiddo's story.
Because they have comfort. Right. You're making me feel really uncomfortable right now. And I think, and I'm saying that because learning only takes place in discomfort. You're making me really start to think about all this. And it's like, I'm wondering, are you saying that bigger truths, in other words, as far as an outcome, more like universal truths are what appeal to people? You know, like confidence, like connection, like, smarter, better in school, achieving all the things that they want to aspire towards. Now they'll have a roadmap of knowing how to achieve.
Yes, I think it's not an either or. It's a how do you even, and this is where the artistry of kind of messaging and marketing comes together is, I know Polymer Music is one of my clients who kind of how you guys found me, right? Because they're Teacher Zone users, right? Right. And one of the things that we dialed in specifically for their kids lesson was this idea of like pride in their eyes, smiles on their faces, and finally being excited about something other than video games. Like those are the things that he felt like our parents are coming in and they're just asking for, trying to figure it out. This is the outcome we want to see in these kids' lives, right?
That is 70% of his area's market share.
I love
everybody's area's market share. Like that's
say that again because we all learned from that. That is, you guys have just told that beautifully.
Yeah, so this idea of like you want to see the pride in their eyes and the smiles on their faces, and then finally being excited about something other than video games, and so those are very much like big, dreamy, right? They're big, dreamy aspiration. Man, I want this for my kid, and I also really want this for my kid, and they're kind of short-term, long-term mixed, right? And so it's kind of figuring out what are you hearing people talk about? What do you have when every time you do somebody comes in to see your martial arts studio, or they come in asking about dance or cheer classes or whatever, like they're going to all have questions and things they're worried about, stuff they're trying to figure out. And those are the things you're trying to figure out. Okay, we feel like we're helping people with that stuff. Because every parent that comes in to any of those, or even an adult that comes in, like, I mean, I emailed a guy about joining a CrossFit gym because I'm like, man, I've been too sedentary for 2 years and I think I want to jump into this. And I'm like already talking, even before I've talked to the guy, I've given him plenty to like be like, okay, the guy's 40, he's feeling out of shape. He wants to get back to confidence and this and feel more like himself. Like I've basically laid that out for them and they're going to help with it. It's not like it's a false sale. But you're trying to use the things that people are already asking for help in, and what you're teaching them is just a mechanism and an outlet for that transformation to happen. And they don't realize that. It's more of like, I'm interested in, a guy that's going to do martial arts versus a guy or a girl who's going to do, clog dancing or something. I don't know. Like they're both ways of owning a skill, mastering something and growing. They're just vehicles to the same thing. And so if you're talking to your customers, listening to these things they're already telling you, they're experiencing. And I'm going to guess that if you're still in business, you're doing a great job at doing with people. You're just not doing a good job at telling them that on the front end before they show up.
So are you, to put it back on the hero thing, are you basically almost like a superhero in a sense of you're letting them know what'll happen after they defeat the villain, if you will?
Like their customers, yeah, you're going to become this and transform into this and
once you defeat your nemesis, which might be distraction, right, this will happen.
Right. And, yeah.
Okay.
You're trying to name that and call it out and then speak to it, and speak to it. And so, and I think the other thing that I will want to, especially in the line of business that most of the people listening to this are going to be in, I think another real simple thing that I think you can think through that allows you to, again, you're still being the guide, but in a sense, it's making the customer the hero, is how complicated is it to do business with you and get communication from you and talk to you? If it feels like a maze of what email address do I do, there's 17 steps before I sign up and 3 forms to fill out and 5 places to put my address. And then once I do it, I don't get any confirmation. I don't ever get any emails. I'm always having to ask you if we have class today. I'm not being told. Like, there's this stuff that we still then make the customers continue to do all the stinking work.
Right. That's
and
the
it's like,
delivery, Chris. That's
right.
We call that, you and I, Tyler and I call that proof, right? The deliver part is proving to them that you're actually doing what you promised on the front.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, we've all had those experiences where, like, you're fired up and you sign up for something, and then, you know, it feels like all of a sudden you realize on the backside that, man, they promised some good stuff, and maybe they're good teachers or maybe they're good whatever, but like on the back end, man, their communication is just terrible. And that all that does is, you may love the teacher, but it makes you distrust the company because it seems like they don't have the crap together. And so, and again, it's like, you know, you never saw Gandalf like looking for his staff, right? Where's my staff? Like, he always had it, you know. It wasn't like he was right, or Mr. Miyagi.
Everybody
it wasn't like he
right now, by the way, all the listeners, regardless of where your company was at, has had this happen on the back end. Period. You've been in this spot.
No, absolutely. I mean, and some of it you may realize you're kind of making it up as you go, but you need to realize, okay, we need to get this figured out, because the less consistent and professional your stuff is on the backside of it, that's just consistent communication, whatever that is, or easy steps to sign up. It's so ridiculously easy. You need to do, whoever you are, you need to do all of the work to make that, and it's going to be hard for you so that it's easy for your customers. And I feel like sometimes we push back against that and like, well, this is just how it has to happen because I don't have time to think about that. Well, guess what? Somebody has to, and it's either going to be the people paying you money and you're making them pay for it. You know, they're paying you money and having to figure it out. Or, you know what? What if you got it figured out because they're paying you money, so that makes it really easy to keep paying you money.
Right.
And to love
That's
that they're
the big
with
thing
you.
is taking away all the friction, because the biggest challenge in today's day and age is when someone faces a challenge. Let's say their laptop breaks or they lose their phone or something. There needs to be an easy way for people to always feel like they're getting what they need from you. And so if you're sitting in archaic mechanisms like humans, like pen and paper, it's not that those technologies can't work. It's that they don't work when challenges arise. In today's day and age, people need access always. We learned that with COVID, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always some times where everybody has those clients and customers or whatever, their students that are just like, they're just that guy or that girl or that family who's just like overwhelmingly annoying and in your face and hard to work with. Like those people are just out there, and that's just because we're all humans and we're all broken messes, interacting with each other. So that's just true. But, and I've, even from my own business, I've learned this, like if I get an email from somebody that's a client of mine and they're like, hey, where's this? Or what's the update on this? Or how come we don't have that? And even if it's not frustrated, they just don't know. Then immediately I'm like, I want to anticipate that stuff. So I don't want anybody to ever be wondering from me, hey, when are we doing this? Or when's this coming up? I would rather over communicate that. And every time that happens, it's like another way to remind me that I haven't done that in some area. And I think
we just had that even happen with our own school with regard to rehearsals. We have reminders, we have all these things, but we didn't. There was a break a weekend before. There was a break. We now know we have to remind the break.
Right.
The
like
day
we have
of,
reminders for the
reminder,
events.
there is no rehearsal today.
Right. Because everybody's showing up and then the place is closed, right?
About five families out of 120 did show up. And it's 5. That's a low percentage, but it's not good. They drove all the way down.
And they got frustrated.
You're always learning how you can communicate better. You're always learning how you can make the friction a little easier. We've obviously, been blessed to be able to work with a lot of programs and teachers around the world to try and do that. But it's the journey never ends, I should say.
Yeah. And so that's and to me, that's still trying to think of like, okay, how can I make the customers the hero and how can I be the guide? Is that they never need to be questioning where are we going, what's the plan, how's it supposed to be working out, what am I supposed to do next? Or if they do, the answer is readily available. And again, you're never going to get it perfect. There's always going to be room for improvement, but just having that mindset shift as opposed to, well, you should already know versus like, okay, how can we make sure they know before we
Tyler, that's your extreme ownership, baby.
It is. And we just, we put Phil Allen into a new overall school director and principal position. And we came up and I'm like, there has to be some thread sewn from week to week besides newsletters. It's got to be. So we got him Loom. Brad, you turned us on to Loom.
Sweet.
So
yeah.
Phil now creates a Loom with some sort of background and gives a 2-minute weekly update. And we just did the first one this week so that because there's new parents that are like, wait, is this thing, do we come? And it's like,
right.
Wow, we gave you a welcome packet that said no, but clearly you need to know again. So now that will help from week to week and they can look forward to seeing his handsome face. And maybe there doesn't need to be anything to go.
It's just a little 2-minute. It's a 2-minute update. And by the way, Tyler, I watched my wife Marcy, because our son's still in the school. I watched her watch it this morning.
Okay. How'd it go?
She goes, what? She didn't know, and she goes, "What's this?" And then I watch her press play, and then she's like, and then when it was over, she looks at me. She goes, "That was cool." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I was like watching a mom, I was like, "Okay, cool."
Here's the funny part, Chris. We're probably going to need 14 looms a week soon because the parents still don't get it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Right, but that's a good example of how like we literally were thrown a new one, Brad, last week. Yeah. And so we were like, so listen, we're all trying to figure out how to be better to our heroes, right? To support them better.
But I love what Brad just said. He came in and gave us another nugget on the delivery systems of what you're promising to help them that in their relative expectations of their journey you want to help them with. And say, cool. So, wow, they liked it. Now, how is it easy for them to do it and keep doing it? If you can put those two
and how many times have you in your business had someone quit that said they quit because, and you're like, but we do that, right? Well, that's not their fault. Like you said, Brad, it's your fault for not having systems in place to let them know you do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Tyler was like, well, we're just looking for somebody that can give us, we're glad we can do private lessons, but we thought they could be like, if they had like an on-stage performance, that'd be great. And you guys are like, that's the other half of what we do, right? Like you've obviously made that clear, right? And absolutely. There's just plenty of opportunity that we make assumptions because we're so close to the details of what we do every day that we assume the 150 conversations we have every day, that person walking in the door has been a part of, and they haven't.
Nope.
You have to retrain your brain that like every new person knows nothing about anything we do. And that's okay.
Well, that's also,
they shouldn't.
We talk about the leader's role in a business, and leader's role basically is, reiterating the vision and mission, people and resources. And so the reiteration of that over and over and over in multiple ways, always, is your job. That you're never done because people are forgetful and people are busy. And again, they're in their own story. They're not in your story.
Brad,
you got to remind them in their terms.
Brad, don't you also help companies come up with their playbooks per se that help the clear messaging, what we just talked about, the 2 steps we just talked about today? They're the hero. Use you statements, not we statements. Get the message clear. Then back it up. Get them in. Keep them coming. But now you've got, like us, 13 teachers and 4 ops people that now need to have that idea from the founders clear to them so that they can express it to the masses, because the founders aren't even the first people to see them anymore after a while.
Right. Yeah. And it's basically, from the marketing and kind of what we do aspect of it, whoever you are as a business. Yeah. It's the first step I take with anybody is we're going to figure out, okay, how do you talk about what you do? Because whether or not you want to or not, you have to use words to communicate about your business. And, the number one question that is always going to come up in anything that has to do with marketing, how's it going to look? What tools should we use? But at some point, you're going to have to say, what is this going to say? Like, you have to answer that question. And so my job for businesses is to help them have answers to that question. What's this going to say? And then whatever we're trying to say is going to inform the tool, the tactic, the design, whatever. And then, that's going to apply to, all right, let's get that on your website, to your sales pages. All right, let's get that into some email sequences where your people can start to learn about the problem that you can help them solve and the things that you're going to help them do. And then beyond that, man, there are so many businesses that literally are not emailing people on a regular basis that I'm convinced that if you are doing hardly basically one email every couple of months, if you were able to start emailing your list with relative information once a week, you would double your revenue. I just don't, unless you have a terrible product and you're a bunch of jerks. There's nothing but upside. The return on email marketing is like 900%. It's ridiculous.
So if they want help to getting clarity in their messaging, getting more emails and all that queued up and ready to go and all that, they can learn about your team at clarityalwayswins.com.
Yeah, you guys can go there and check it out and kick around and fish around and see what we do. And then there's, buttons to schedule calls, and, it'll be you and I, whoever you are, talking on the phone and figuring out what you need and if we can help.
And if you want to see a direct example, go to teacherzone.com. And if you've haven't had a chance to read through it, scroll down once and see Brad's work in action. And so our website was something we worked together, put our heads together, and Chris and my mission moving forward, Brad helped put it into a clear message the way we were just blown away by. So you can see that on the website as well. Since this podcast is brought to you by teacherzone.com. and so we'll plug that as well. Brad, you have been amazing. I've seen Chris's head explode twice today, and that is a big deal. So it takes a lot for Chris to do that on a podcast. So
Mission
you've been
accomplished.
An amazing guest. Mission accomplished. So
Thank you.
man, we got to have you again. So let this experience percolate, and maybe we'll have you on again for some other workshop, because that was fantastic. What do you think, Chris?
I think that the hardest part in business is kind of knowing where to start. And so, Brad, thanks for really helping us feel a little bit more grounded on how we see ourselves in context.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
And
I love it. Thanks for having me on.
Today. We know you're busy. We know that your Calendly is very strict. So thank you for allowing us to be on your schedule and being part of this with us. And again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And we're so grateful Brad came in. We have another workshop coming up on the same topic with John from Chris. Tell them about John real quick.
John Kozicki with Michigan Rock School. He is going to have some insight in a workshop for us to help work through some of the story stuff that Brad was just talking about. He used to be a writer, so he's going to help people understand how to write stories. And so then now they can take what you've taught us, Brad, and then write the stories within that framework.
Right. And that goes
Perfect.
for not just the customer heroes, but your employees. Your employees are guides. They're heroes. So we're going to touch on that next week. And again, thank you all for tuning in. Go to teacherzone.com to see the updated webinars and ebooks that are free for you. You can find those there. And again, Brad, thank you for coming in, and thank you all for tuning in. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Teacher Zone with Chris and Tyler. See you guys.